Would you think he could still have his job with a collection of Nazi memorabilia? There's a question. Or a vicar. Kirsty, what do people say?
A lot of people don't want him to step down. Gary's online too.
Gary, good morning.
Hi.
Should he step down?
Well, that kind of has many problems with who is asked to step down. Of course, we know who are. But my family was affected by the war, and some of my friends, they were Jewish, and they had family members, you know. And it's horrible for everyone. But it's also a part of our history, and I think if we ignore our history, we ignore our future.
But Gary, isn't Lowry's point that the organisation he works for, Human Rights Watch, their work is compromised by the fact that the people they're criticising can criticise them, or specifically him?
Yeah, I can definitely see how that can happen. But, for example, if a German, for example, was collecting, say, parts of the British Lancaster or an American B-17, does that make him wrong where he is? It's just all a part of history that we mustn't ignore. There's a good Russian saying, if you ignore the past, you go blind in one eye, but if you ignore the future, you're blind in both eyes.
But that's exactly what this guy is doing. He's collecting these pieces of memorabilia as sort of art objects, ignoring the history that is attached to those. If he was displaying those, if he had a museum of the horrors of the Nazi regime and he was displaying these and he was pushing, you know, how many people died, then absolutely.
Very good point.
But that's not what he's doing. He's saying that jacket was really cool.
Very good point. That's, yeah. So if he was actually using this to make a point against Nazism, you think that's a great idea, but in actual fact, he's kind of revelling in it. Brilliant. Thank you, Gary. Let's have another.
We have Julian on line 3.
Julian, good morning.
Good morning.
Should he lose his job? Should he get his job back?
No, he shouldn't.
What, lose his job or get it back?
He should certainly have not lost his job, and he should certainly get it back. I'm 62, nearly 63, so I was brought up and I know what the war was like, or the aftermath of it. Men and women died in 2 world wars so we could be free and a democratic society. You can't have democracy on one hand,
Julian,
and
again, are you not missing
ideas on the other?
Are you not missing Lowry's point, Julian, that it's not so much about that as the fact that he is compromising the organisation that he's representing?
Well, you could have, I mean, everyone can compromise the organisations they're working by what they do in their spare time.
Yeah, with Julian, which is probably why then you shouldn't be employed by that organisation. The very rights you talk about, Julian, most articulately, the right that we fought for through 2 world wars allows people to collect Nazi memorabilia. It is not against the law. That is a right we enjoy in this country.
But he's losing that right, though,
no, but he's not losing. He's not losing that right. He can continue to collect the memorabilia.
He has to lose his job.
He just can't work. He completely undermines the nature of the organisation he's working for.
No, I disagree. I think your attitude undermines democracy. That very attitude is what is stifling this country by people not being allowed to say certain words, being called racist, by not being allowed to express views.
I think, Julian Love, I think you're bringing a separate agenda to the argument.
Well,
no one's brought that up.
Julian,
if you listen to me, if you listen to me, what I said was, he's absolutely within his rights, and I would die to allow him, bizarrely, I would die to allow him the right to collect Nazi memorabilia. That's what my family fought for, your family fought for, and everyone else's family fought for. However, in the specific context, I'm astonished at a man like you, Julian, who can make these big connections with the rights and responsibilities of individuals, can't see how in this very specific context it's wrong.
I can understand exactly. And the problem with that is there is always going to be a specific context where things are wrong, and it will never end.
But in those contexts...
There will never be a context where things are always right. Now, the thing with democracy and freedom and free speech, it's a double-edged coin. You have freedom and you have the other side of it, and I'm afraid, logically, you have to go with the nasty side of it, otherwise you do not have freedom.
OK, all right, OK, Julian, thank you. I want to get one more in I can. I think you meant double-edged sword, not...
Sorry, Michael doesn't think he should lose his job either, and he's on line 4.
Does anybody, by the way, want things?
No, none of the callers.
Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
So you don't think he should lose his job?
But absolutely not.
Why not?
Why? He's a collector. I mean, I'm not saying people don't have hidden agendas, but at the end of the day, there are millions of people who collect war memorabilia.
Yeah.
Somebody collecting war memorabilia of the Americans or the English, you know, and just, let's say he was a German, does that get sacked?
What about Reg's point? Very relevant, that there are people walking around with tattoos that the Nazis put on them, and that this guy criticises Israel, but now everything he says, the Israelis can undermine him because he collects Nazi memorabilia. So the very people that he's criticising are the very people that were victims of the people he collects. I mean, it seems...
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it because I'm a collector, right?
What do you collect?
I collect Roman memorabilia.
Roman gear, right.
But I'm looking at it purely as a collector.
But the whole point...
that someone should be ostracised for being a collector.
But Michael, the whole... I think Hardeep's made this really clear, isn't it? We're not talking about the collecting, per se. It's whether or not his particular field of collecting is acceptable when he makes criticisms, for example, of Israel. Go on, Hardeep.
Can I make a very quick point? If Barack Obama had a special advisor who we found out had collected memorabilia from the Ku Klux Klan, do you think it's fine for him to remain in his job as an advisor to the first black president of the US? Or would you say, do you know what, maybe inappropriate? You can go ahead and collect it, but get another job. No one's stopping this guy collecting. I'm just astonished you guys can't make that link.
OK, we'll leave it there. I'm surprised, actually, by how many of you feel he should keep his job. We never got into teachers either, how you'd feel if your children were taught by someone who collected Nazi memorabilia. Maybe it'd give an interesting start in history lessons. It's something to think about anyway. Let's move on to a subject which I know regular viewers will know is very close to my heart, maybe to Reg's. Let's see, is wanting kids in your genes. Could it be some of us, him and me, are missing that gene? Maybe all your friends have had kids and you are still waiting to feel the urge. What if it never comes? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. Charles Darwin, OK, would have us believe that everybody wants to reproduce. You can't help it. Could the great man have been wrong? You tell me in 3.
Falling birth rates in the West have been blamed on genetic deficiencies, women wanting more choice, or people having more money.